Hello, everybody, and welcome to Thursdays with Tracy. I'm back after a hiatus. I was supposed to come back in February, but there's so much going on. I'm like, I had to come in and get a whole lot of things off my chest. So I'm here with Theus. Theus, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
So we're gonna start off. And at the end of the show, I'm gonna talk about some of the projects that Tracy Media has going on. And remember, before I start, to please like this video, please comment. I usually get like 5 comments, and I'm looking for way more than 5. So even if you watch it on the replay, make a comment, subscribe, and of course support us on Patreon. So I want to get to the genius on CNN. I don't know what this man's name is. I can see his face clearly, but I cannot think of his face.
Talking about the Democratic operative guy.
You mean the one that said Joe Biden needs more supporters?
Oh, yeah, that he needs his supporters to do a better job being supportive.
Yes, to be support.
We're doing it wrong.
Wait, us. We're out here just, it's us. It's us that's wrong.
The activists are not activating.
I'm like, wait a minute. So, like, did somebody tell him to say that?
Bagala.
Thank you. I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Did you? No, I couldn't first when I first heard. I'm like, he didn't say that. There's no way he could have said that. Then I went back and I said, yup, that's what he said. I'm like, is this going to be what they're going to take into 2022? Because if they do, I don't think they want to win. Because you really don't take that into 2022. Like, hey.
I don't think they can help themselves.
I don't think they want to win. I mean, it's like, do y'all want to win in 2022? Or just sit there and be like, well, you haven't supported them enough.
Yeah, I don't know. Do they? Is it that they don't want to win, or is it that they think they're going to lose, so they're trying to find someone else to blame, or they're so detached that they literally can't help themselves? I don't know, because it's like political malpractice. It's like Eric Adams again.
Now, I missed that whole thing. People were going up in arms. I'm like, okay, what did he say? And I tried to find clips or articles, and I could literally find nothing.
Yeah, it was 2 speeches, but basically, it might have just been one speech, and then I'm thinking about the Saturday Night Live where they roasted him. But just basically saying that the working class people are beneath the leadership class, and they're just not smart enough, and they don't try hard enough.
Wait a minute, hold on, wait a minute. He could not have said that. There's no way he could have said that.
I mean, he used different words. He said something along the lines of the people who work in Dunkin' Donuts don't have the skills to, sit in a office. So they need us to come back to work so that they can take care of themselves. So it was real bad. It was so tone deaf.
Somebody had to tell him, you know what, maybe you shouldn't have said that.
I'm sure he got that conversation afterwards.
Because I guess that's the thing I'm talking about. I'm like, this kind of thing started with what is his name? He's ran for governor of Virginia, but he lost.
Oh, the guy who McAuliffe beat?
Yeah, the Hillary kisser.
Yeah, whoever he was, yeah.
Yeah, he started it. And I'm like, wait a minute, okay, so maybe this will go away.
See, that's the problem. We've known about this type of liberal for a very long time. They are the not in my backyard people. Was it NIMBYism, they call it? They're the ones who really think they're just like Republicans. It's just that they think on a corporate scale. So our liberal leadership are the ones who are wealthy, connected. They think that they're smarter than everyone else because they have whatever degrees or what have you. And they think they're better than everyone else because of those degrees and what have you. So they're like the C suite of a corporation. And they just look down on everyone who actually does the work to make your corporation possible.
But
Like,
don't they know that you need people to vote for you so you can get into office? So you probably don't want to suggest that the working class is beneath the leadership class?
well, they think that the working class needs them, and the working class knows that they would be lost without them. So, yeah, this might not be the best way to say it, but really, it's true. Like, that's how they kind of look at it. That's why when they try to help minority groups, they only want to help a little bit. Like, they want to improve the conditions in the cell, but they don't want to let you out the jail. You know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like the Republicans want to put everybody in jail. The Democrats are like, well, some of y'all really need to be in there. But at least we could do is feed you lunch.
I don't know what's wrong with this part. It's like when I start figuring out things, and I'm not politically savvy at all. But when I start figuring out things, I'm like, somebody at the DNC's got to be telling these guys, hey, shut up. Don't say this because it'll just look bad. I can
They
just,
don't let those people in the room. Those are your consultants that are, I hate this term, but people of color. So those are your black consultants, your lady consultants, your other minority consultants, but they're not listened to the same way that the traditional white consultants are. So yeah, they're getting told, or someone would tell them if they would listen to them, but they don't have to listen to them. They rather listen to the amen corner who's just saying, you got this, man. Hillary, they robbed you. You should come back, and now they'll appreciate you. Yes. You
mm-mm-mm.
know, even though every indication in the world is you are the one person other than Barack Obama that could generate the most Republican resistance left in the system.
Yeah, he ran 2 terms. Hillary's never won. I mean, she's never won president.
Right. So Hillary is the absolute worst person to try to bring in, especially in this moment in time. Unfortunately, it may not be fair for her. I get that life ain't fair, but her time passed. If she were to even hint at trying to edge Biden and Harris out, just hint at it.
Well, she's already hinting at it.
Well, I don't know. For me right now, it feels like she's trying to sell books and get speaking engagements, right? To stay relevant. But if they even try to float her officially in any way, it's over because you will have all the Republicans who right now want to just skip the election. They're like, I can't vote for a Democrat, but this is too much for me. I can't vote for a Republican right now. Those people, they'd show up and vote if you sit there and put Hillary up
Yeah,
there.
if you put Hillary in there.
They're coming in.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm like. Will she go away? Will she just go away, retire, write your little murder mystery books? Stop telling the far left that we're too far left. No, we're just wanting things that normal people want, and you don't. Stop.
Yeah, it's like the far left that they talk about. We can quibble about what it looks like, what it means, you know what I mean, like we normally do. But if you just list it down on paper, what of these positions are bad? Like that's the question I would love for one of them to answer. Like they can tell me why it's unreasonable, they can tell me why they think it's too aggressive, but what I would love for them to answer is which of these do we not need?
Well, I'll give you an answer to that. Because I remember when Joe Biden was running for president and they asked him specifically, if Medicare for all gets to your desk, would you sign? And he said no, like, I mean this. Like, I
But see,
mean
that's
it.
asking him a policy position,
That's
right?
a policy position. But
Because
then
he
he,
can back
yeah,
out of that because there's money flowing and there's stuff that we don't get to know about that we know
yeah,
about.
yeah. But my point is that he said that, well, one, because he really doesn't want it. But
Right.
his answer when he came back was, oh, we have the Affordable Care Act. Are you kidding me? That's Romney Care.
But
That's
that's
literally Romney Care.
but that is the signature and really the only lasting legislation from his time with Barack Obama in office. So there's no way I would personally expect him to say, yes, let's do Medicare for all. I had fully expected him to do exactly what he said, which was, well, we have the Affordable Care Act. Let's fix it. Let's make it better. Like, that's the language I expect him to
But then
use.
that's saying that something's wrong with it.
But he knows something's wrong with it. It's not what they wanted.
It's crap. But
Well,
okay.
a lot of people didn't die and got some health care that didn't have it before. But he knows, they know that the thing that we got, that wasn't even what they were pushing. It's what Congress finally let come out.
Yeah, and that was from like the Heritage Foundation, like some conservative think tank. I'm like, wait a minute, wait a minute. We got two people in here that haven't said anything. So put some in the comments so we can say hello. But pardon me. But that's why I'm like, wait a minute. So you're seeing, and here's what I will always say. This is how I feel because everybody knows Medicare for all. That's my number one issue besides the Green New Deal. Those two. Because I feel like, hey, if we have reparations, how we gonna spend it and the planet is jacked up, we can't breathe. That's just me. Medicare for all and Green New Deal, they kind of tie for first place. I know, so, and not that I'm against reparations. I'm not. I'm for it because I think you can walk and chew gum. At the same time, but I feel like if it's not single payer health care, man, get that stuff out of my face.
I would say if I'm not solely coming at it, well, I'm trying to say not solely coming at it from like the black demographic background. So then reparations is like a special case, like maybe. What's
Hey,
good, Mr.
Marlon.
Marlin? So reparations are like a special case type of thing. Then perhaps I would say, before Medicare for all, I want the criminal justice reform from top to bottom, like
That's
prisons.
important to, like I said, there's a bunch of issues I
No,
rank
I get
number
you. Like, we
two,
all have different
but I'm
priorities,
like, nah, man.
but like for you, it's Medicare for all first. I mean, and like I said, we're removing reparations out of it. It's like a special thing. So for this conversation, like you put that one first. I would put it closer, either second or third, because I want you to stop killing and destroying families first. And then with Medicare for all, I'm not sure if it would be two, possibly three, because the Green New Deal, it needs to be completely revamped at this point because they've let time go by that was critically needed. So we got to change that up some too, So it's tough. It's tough. I guess, yeah. Those are my three though. So I think we share
Yeah,
pretty much
because
the
we're
same.
both saying they're all
Yeah.
the issues named. They're my top five. They're in your top five. We're just ranking them different in
Yeah.
terms of importance. Because criminal justice, trust and believe. I used to be one of these people that say, we should defund the police. It's getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? We may need to abolish the police because
I think the
I'm
language is what
getting
messes
there.
everybody up, but yeah.
I'm really getting there because I'm so tired of seeing police officers carte blank just go out and kill black people.
Yeah, they get away with murder,
Literally.
extortion, rape, domestic abuse, you name it. Everything that they are charged with trying to stop, they're doing. So it's like, first of all, yeah, I'm with the abolish police as we know it. Because I still think you still have to bring back law enforcement.
Yeah,
Because
we had to have
the
some.
nature of humanity is dark and twisted. And I mean, we obviously can't, and I hate to put it this way, but it's like we obviously can't police ourselves. Because look at in various cities, these aren't desperation crimes that we're seeing. Like the people who are stealing out of the trains, um, the flash mob robberies, um, constant carjackings, constant killing over carjackings. That's not desperation crime. Like selling drugs, I could say that's probably a desperation crime. Breaking in and stealing some stuff, like one person breaks in, steals some stuff so that they can go pawn it. Desperation crime. But what we're seeing is just people taking advantage of a lack of consequence.
Right.
And the only way you can address that, unfortunately, you got to send the boys in. And I'm like, my mission is I don't want the police around. I don't want them around. But if the moment they're not around, you're going to act up, that's how they got to come back around.
Yeah, it's like, well, wait a minute, you darned if you do, and you darned if you don't. Because, like I said, I'm leaning so heavily, like, we should just go neighborhood crime watch and just stop this. Because they just keep killing people and killing people, and I'm so tired of it.
But we can't do that because Neighborhood Crime Watch will have more of our children dead.
Yep.
Because now you got more Zimmermans out there.
Yeah, and
Because
that's the
people are
problem.
already scared of their neighbors. So we'd have to build compounds in order to do that. So now everybody has a wall up. And then if you can't afford to have a wall, then you're out in the wastelands. And now we're Mad Max style, where the people who got money have these little towns nestled away. But those of us who ain't got no money, we just out here with the monsters.
Yeah.
It's
I know,
humanity is.
yeah, it's like we messed up. I'm like, what did we do? It started out good, and then it just went downhill real quick. And it has never got on the uptick. It's just never seems to
and
get on
it's
the uptick.
and I think it's only going to get worse because the very policies and practices that we're under creates more lack. And if you keep expanding the bottom as the poorest, you will have more and more crimes of emotion, opportunity, and mayhem. You just will. That's what lack creates. And you can't build your wall up high enough to keep everybody out.
Sure can't, because somebody's gonna either crawl over it or under it.
Yep, eventually they coming. But I don't know how do you get that across to someone who doesn't believe our reality is real?
I don't think you can, unfortunately,
So
because
we
you
have
got,
to go down that path. And
yeah, it's like you got two sets of people. The people who, oh, America is colorblind, don't know where they're living at, and the people that just are racist, accept that they're racist, and want racism to spread. That's the country we're living in now.
yeah, it's really tough, but it's the country we've always lived in. Um, Always. Like I was looking back at our at American history, but it was like, okay, of 1619 is when they brought the slaves, but what 1776? Isn't that when the nation officially started?
I thought it was 1783.
I'm not sure. I think it's 1776, but it could be that. I don't know. 1783 might be when the Constitution was officially ratified.
Yeah, that's when the Constitution was ratified.
Okay. So from there to 1863, you had chattel slavery. From 1863 to roughly 1890-ish, you had the freedmen's time. So that was a relative part of peace. So that's what, 20 years?
Yep.
And then we went into Jim Crow from like
Yep.
1900 to 1965.
Yep, 65.
So far, we only have 20 years where it's not total garbage. Then from 1965 to roughly 1985, we had affirmative action. As affirmative action was dying out, so that was only about 20 years. As affirmative action was dying out, we had the drug wars, the gang wars, everything, the the 94 crime bill, everything came right behind that. And it has not been okay since. So America's got what, maybe 50 years under its belt? That's not good.
Yes, considering we're what, like 250 years old.
You got about 50. Uh,
I was listening to Tim Black yesterday evening, and he said something because we're moving on to our next subject in terms of the voters' right um, fight that's going on. He said, Betty White, she recently passed, and she was 99. The
yeah.
crime, the Voters' Right Act passed in 65. Mm-hmm. That meant that she was 50 years old when it passed. That blew my mind.
She had already raised a family. I know she didn't have children, but I'm saying she was at an age where you might have grandchildren.
Yep.
Before Jim Crow ended. Excuse me.
Yeah, because
that's wild.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, let's see, my dad was born in 1939, so he was like 11 or 12 around that time. So he lived the first 11 years of his life, black people couldn't vote.
My dad was born in 1953, and excuse me, 1953 in Montgomery, Alabama. So they were born under Jim Crow, but it's like, because history isn't taught very well, and it's weird how this happens. So history isn't taught very well in the school system.
Nope.
Parents, therefore, were not taught history very well.
Nope.
Parents can't then teach their children history very well. So there's individuals who can, because you go and you study and you read and you da. But even that, like, it would be isolated. Like, I could teach you a lot about Black history, but I would be stuck once we get outside of that. So I'm still not giving you real, full history. So we're what, 2 or 3 adult generations of not having real education. So that's why I think one of the reasons why it's so bad right now, because no one really knows. They literally think of slavery as ancient history.
Yep. Or we were all sitting there just playing banjos and
it was bad, but
okay,
not that bad.
Yeah,
right?
They didn't really hit us hard. They just kind of tapped us, and then we went right back to work because we fell asleep. Blah 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 blah.
And then they think of Jim Crow as they don't know what that is, because it's got a name that's kind of silly. They don't know that that's apartheid. They don't know that that's dehumanizing behavior. They don't know that basically America was living the Nazi Jewish Holocaust in reverse. They don't understand that. Jim Crow was what Nazi Germany did to the Jewish people before they started murdering everyone.
I think I'm going to have to disagree with you slightly. I think they do know, and they're doing one of two things: choosing to ignore it, or privately relishing it and wondering why it's still not happening.
I think both of those are true. Excellent point. And then there's some who just don't know because they went to the same schools we did. But no, I have to agree with you there. I really do, because once again, it's not a lack of intelligence. It's a matter of they value something else more than something else.
Yeah,
so their power is more important than your peace.
Exactly. And you have this little thing, it's called Google. You can just type in slavery and just read. That's what YouTube is for, people. But the reason I brought up the whole thing about the voters' rights campaign is Joe Biden is mad.
He's so offended.
He's mad again because people are now openly questioning him, which I'm like, why did it take y'all so long? But one of the questions he got, and I wish I could play it, but I can't share my videos on StreamYard, is someone asked him, why is it that you waited until now to start fighting for voters' rights? Is this a bad publicity stunt? I'll tell you what, it took me about 5 good times to understand what he was trying to get to. And I'm still confused. I'm like, I think he's saying that the timing, but isn't voters' rights more important than the infrastructure? I mean, I was just totally
No, I
confused.
definitely get exactly what he was trying to say. He was basically laying out that Congress does not work like the real world.
That part's
So
true.
he knew very clearly, and it's also come out that Schumer knew. They knew very clearly that voting rights would be very difficult with Manchin. They weren't sure about Sinema in the beginning, but they knew it was going to be hard with Manchin. And in order to get the any kind of infrastructure stuff done, which generally should be easy.
Yeah, it should be easy. Should be easy peasy. Here you go.
So, in theory, they thought tactically do that first because then we can get that out of the way. Then, because we do have some time, and it's not that voting rights is being eliminated, it's being obstructed more. So it's not to them, it's not as urgent as it may feel to some of us. So they're like, okay, we have to get all of these things accomplished. Like this is what he was saying, basically. But the problem is, Joe.
Yeah, because he listens to this show all the time. He watches it all the
Hey,
time.
you never know. The problem is, Joe, you if it had worked, no one would be really coming for you. We'd be
Exactly.
irritated because of the order that it went. Yes, we would still be irritated, but we wouldn't be coming for you. Problem is, it didn't work.
Mm-mm.
The only thing that got passed was the first part of the infrastructure bill, which should have been part of one infrastructure bill, but you negotiated it away because ultimately your loyalties were more conservative than they were liberal. And we see that and we know it. And then here we are in the voting rights, and we're still dealing with us being another bargaining chip. So that's the part that it's like, yeah, nice little speech. I'm not concerned about him getting offended or anything. I think he's a human being. He should have been offended because people are challenging him. That's what humanity. That's human. Stop acting like people can't be human. But y'all dropped the ball, man.
Yeah, because
You
I'm like,
dropped the ball.
if you had just reversed the order, we wouldn't have said it. We'd have been like, oh, well now we see it. It's right there. But it does seem like a PR stunt because I'm like,
It
okay,
does,
and
and we
I'm
knew it
like,
was coming.
it's like, wait a minute, why didn't y'all just reverse the order? Just take them and just reverse them. And here's my other question: why are we still talking about extending voters' rights and renewing them? Could we please stop this and get some congressperson to say, hey, they're permanent. You're over 18, you get to vote, and that's it.
Well, we can't because, and this is one of the things that Tim got so close to, but he didn't nail. This morning they were talking about it on Ben Dixon's show, and they got close to it, didn't nail it. And I'm like, part of the issue is we have to understand who we're up against. We are up against people who call themselves originalists. Well, if you look at the original interpretation of how they structured this thing, they wanted wealthy white men with land to be voters. Because why? Because they were considered to be more intelligent, more educated. So if you look at the conservative logic, this is how they run their churches, and this is how they want to run their government, is the best among us shall lead. If you understand that's where they're coming from, then you'll understand why they won't make national elections a holiday. They won't automatically make you register to vote at age 18. They won't make sure that early voting is just early voting. You got a week before the election, early vote. They won't. There's a reason why they want to get rid of all the drop boxes. There's a reason why they don't want you to now mail in your ballots, even though they were the ones benefiting from mail-in
Yeah, they sure were.
ballots.
I'm like, y'all was benefiting from it.
But then when the people who weren't the preferred voters started doing it, now it's a problem. So we keep talking about it like they want it to be fair, and they don't.
But sometimes when people don't want things, it's time for the other side to force it.
But the side that is causing the issues, the conservative ideology side, that side is about 40% roughly or more of the country, right? The other 60, you would be like, well, that's 60-40. This should be a no-brainer. But that other 60%, one, popular vote don't win it.
Not the presidency, no.
Right? Two, that 60% has been so busy knowing that, I mean, whatever we believe in, and we all got different views and grievances, so we're confused and scattered. The conservatives don't have to be scattered. They're like 95% homogenous, right? We got all these people over here. And then the president is affected by the Electoral College, so there's one fix that's in the system. The House is done by gerrymandered districts, another fix that's in the system. The only pure-ish election is the Senate.
It's the Senate. Yep, it's the Senate.
So if I can't gerrymander the Senate, the Electoral College won't help me with the Senate, then the best thing I can do is reduce the number of people who can vote for the Senate. And that's what they're doing.
Exactly. And that's what I'm like. I am going to take a detour and say why I don't think that Election Day should be a holiday. Because I really don't. I don't see the benefit. Because this is why. This is just me. This is just me. I think a lot of people be like, ooh, well, first of all, elections mostly are always held on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. So you would have to go to work the next day. I'm thinking, oh, it's a sale at Macy's.
Yeah.
Let me go there. I think we would have a lot of that going on.
I would agree.
I mean, I'm not against, employers saying, hey, we're not going to work this day so that you can vote. But make it in a holiday, I'm like, okay, is it a paid holiday? Do you have to claim vacation time? Are you really going to do anything? You're going to take off the Monday prior to that so you can have a 4-day week, a 3-day weekend, da-da-da-da-da.
But if that's what people want, so basically where I would come at it a little different is I want people to have their options. And if they want to make bad decisions with their options, it's kind of their right to do. Because right now we only have 50-60% of the voting eligible population that even bothers to vote anyway. So make it a holiday. You may not get any more participation than you already got.
Right. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm like,
but what you may get, what you absolutely would get, are people who do want to vote, but they work jobs that are either hourly or non-standard shifts, so they can't get to the polls. Especially when one of the main tricks that these people are using is playing with the hours. Well, we're all off. Kind of hard to play with the hours, ain't it? It's like you got to have them open for 8 hours or something like that. So move it up, move it back. Doesn't matter. I'm off. I can be there. But if I have to be at work at 8 a.m. to start my shift and the polls start at 6 o'clock in the morning, I can't guarantee that even if I show up at 6, I'll have voted by 7:30 so I can get back to work. So that's where I'm like, make it a holiday, because what is more integral in theory to being an American citizen than your right to vote? Like, it's literally what defines you as a citizen. So people are going to go shop and they're going to stay in bed and they're not going to vote at all. They're going to do all that stuff. And that's their right. let's make it easier for the people who want to go.
That part I never did think about that part because I always early vote, so I'm just an early voter. I'm just like, okay, I've already voted.
Yeah, and now what's scary though is okay, so they're playing with all right, any minority that hears this, do not mail in your ballot. I know Trump said that last time and it messed his people up. But we know they're throwing away ballots. We know they're eliminating people from their roles. So if you really think, especially if you're in a state like mine, which is Georgia, that when you mail in your ballot, it's going to make it where it's supposed to go, I just wish you the best.
Yeah, you might want to show up at the.
I'm gonna need to show up and get
But
that little yellow card in my hand.
yeah, but that's hard because if you gotta wait in line 8 and 9 and 11 hours through, I mean, I waited 5 and I thought, okay, I'm ready to turn around and go home. I'm tired.
And it's easy for me to say this because I live in a heavily white area and I'm next door to an affluent white area. So when I go to vote, I have never, matter of fact, in 20 plus years of voting, I've never had to wait longer than an hour to vote, no matter where I've lived.
I've been waiting 5, 6 hours.
Right. So you look at where they're messing with us, where we already have a 5, 6 hour wait, and they talk about making it an 8, 9 hour wait. But still, if they're gonna throw away your ballot,
you'll get everybody those camper chairs.
Yeah, I would love to be able to do that because there's no rule against that. I can't give you food, but
no, you can sell it. You can't just give it away, but you could sell it for a penny.
Oh, I'd have to look into that.
Because I don't know, I'm not in Georgia. Because I'm like, well, can't you sell it?
But they're playing with this all over the country, and it's terrible. But this is people aren't going to like to hear this, but one of the reasons that they're not pushing very hard on these voting rights thing is because people aren't very well informed. So they think that it's really just obstruction. Going to be longer lines, and they're going to have less machines and all that, which is bad. And they're going to do all those things.
Those things will happen, but it's worse.
They're going to do it. But what's worse is they can replace your board of electors with one person chosen by the legislature. So instead of 5 people of both parties or 4 people of both parties, one joker could come in and be like, all y'all go home. I'm going to manage this.
Yeah, didn't they do that in Georgia where they kicked out the county person in Fulton, which is where I understand Atlanta. I don't see. I'm like, what? Nobody's challenging this in court. Well,
There's so many lawsuits right now. So many lawsuits.
Well, but you have a conservative Supreme Court, so good luck with that.
And it doesn't even matter because if let's say you get the judgment in your favor, but the judgment happens right before the election or right after, the damage is done.
Yep, you've already did it.
And that's the Republican play. It's kind of like with abortion rights. It almost doesn't matter what the Supreme Court ultimately decides. Texas has effectively stopped your ability to make that decision.
And it's moving to other states. And that's what's scary about both the abortion fight and the voters' rights fight. Is these Republicans, they don't operate in a cocoon. When one state does something, usually Texas or Florida or Georgia, one of 3, then other states like, you know what, that's a good idea, but we're going to take it one step further. I know here in our state, they're throwing away because we don't have but 11 or 12 million people total? Maybe? Well, we got some millions of people, but they're throwing away hundreds of thousands of ballots. We don't have same day voting. And it's like when you question these politicians, I would just like to know Why don't we bring up that these politicians are ultimately racist?
Because racist has no value. Like, it's a word that I don't even think it stings anymore.
You know, I want to ask Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell, like, why don't you like black people? What did black people do to you to make you say, you know what? Nope, not gonna give them.
Well, they respond something along the lines of, I really can't believe that you would say something like that to me. I am absolutely not against the rights of black people to vote.
But
I
yeah,
believe that all people have the right to vote and they have the right to know that their vote is secure. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that that security is of the utmost importance so that when you do vote, it matters.
and I'm gonna say your actions speak louder than your words.
They can mask and twist anything that you might say that because they function in sound bites,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
They
That
don't
is
have to sit still and deal with anything.
that
Anything.
is true. It's like, yep, they do steal in sound bites.
And if you've ever sat down and listened to like conservative talking points or when they're trying to
Mm-mm.
state their case,
I just
it's it's scary how easy it is to follow along their weird twisted logic because they're just coming at it from another side. That's why I think it's really important. At least I wish it was because it's been taken out of most schools, unless you go to predominantly white, well-funded schools. But debate club, we need that. We need that all over the place because that'll teach you to get a topic that you may not even agree with and learn how to argue it as though it was the right thing. That's how you understand your opponent. When you understand that the issue that you are so for that you have to now present the opposite argument, you'll learn how they think and now you can fight it. But we don't have that. We only have our side. And that's how you lose.
yeah, because I'm like, I just see a bloodbath coming in 2022. I'm just like, I don't see any upside. I'm like,
I don't I don't want to go all into that part just because but losing 2022 will be the and is not the Democrats' fault, the left's fault. All of us on the left. It'll be our fault. Because you're literally about to lose to a party that has obstructed voting rights in broad daylight, almost destroyed the postal service in broad daylight, stopped a women's rights to protect her own body in broad daylight, stacked the courts by stealing one Supreme Court seat, technically two, in broad daylight, led a coup against the government in broad daylight, and yet they are still strong enough to defeat roughly 60% of the country. That's on us. That's all on us
well, that's
because
what
we aren't
our
going
boy
to show
at
up and vote
CNN
because we're
said.
offended.
That's what our boy at CNN was saying. He doesn't have enough support.
But he was saying it for a different reason. He was saying it to set up excuses. I'm saying it from a different standpoint. I feel like this: if we don't show up in force to at least protect the Senate and expand the Senate, not protect the Senate, because what we got is not working, but
Yeah, I was gonna say,
expand the Senate.
yeah, that's what we really need to do.
We
Concentrate
need to
on that
get to at
Senate.
least 55 senators. At
Yeah,
least.
and then quiet mansion and cinnamon.
Right. Because we got to mute those two.
Yep, if you mute those two, they'll probably fall right in line.
They would. And Manchin's already said it. He was basically saying the reason why I have this kind of, influence is because of how you set up the Senate. You know, You want more people to do something different than what I do? Put more people in here. Like he says it. He says it. But people are so stuck in their feelings that they're missing what they need. And I'm not poo-pooing on people's feelings like I have been. I get it. I really do. And I've evolved just in the last week or two in that I'm still annoyed with people who live in their feelings because I think they're irrational creatures and it drives me nuts. But I do say, yo, the game has changed. You look at what this was their last gambit in my view. So based off of where we are, it's going to get way worse in the next 5 to 6 years. Way, way worse. Because emotional reaction, because of gerrymandering, because of the Supreme Court thing. There's so many things in place right now to crush us.
Exactly.
So, and it's in large part our own fault because we didn't fight harder in a more disciplined way over the last 10 years. But you can't go back. That already happened. We're where we are. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm talking about black folk. It's about to get ugly. It's about to get real, real ugly.
Yeah.
When the Republicans get back in power, say goodbye to SNAP benefits, say goodbye to WIC benefits, say goodbye to HUD benefits, because say goodbye to so many things that keep you from being just completely out. And you won't be able to vote to fix it.
Yeah, it's like, and plus you won't be able to vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've changed. I'm more along the lines of, okay, so this is the last year, 2022. I want all of us, wherever you find yourself on the left, turn out in massive numbers to vote. Massive. Like everybody, get your lazy cousin and your everybody come vote for 2022. At minimum, you can save the Senate. Maybe do something with the House. And then by 2024, that gave us an extra 2 to 3 years to decide to go a different way because the party ain't in it. And it's time to find another way. I just don't want the Republicans to have all of Congress
and the Senate.
Right. If they have the House,
nothing will happen. I'll be like, oh, we ain't getting squat.
If they have the House and the Senate, it's over.
Yeah, that's game
over.
That is game over.
Mitch McConnell will get rid of the filibuster.
Yeah, he'll get rid of it then.
And then anything Biden does want to do, he'll overturn in the Senate. So over. So we need the Senate, as terrible it is as pathetic as it is. We need it like we need a dam to hold back the water. But then we got to run.
We ain't gonna have no choice but to run.
We got to run, boy.
We have no choice but to run. And the last kind of subject before I get into my diatribe of this is gonna change. I'm gonna say this. I think that the January 6th commission is a big waste of time. And I've told everybody why I think this. I'm like, we spending all this money. Let the Department of Justice investigate these people. However, there's been some new developments that have happened. So apparently now it looks like some of the Trump children, now they'll never testify, but some of the Trump children, Trump, whatever, children are going to be testifying or being subpoenaed because they'll never testify.
They'll be called. They ain't going to say nothing.
He gets loyalty. He's not loyal to anybody, but all the people who they've called are like, I'm not testifying. I'm like, and you still walking the streets?
I don't know what he's done, but dude runs like a serious mafia boss.
He sure does.
The loyalty that flows upwards to him is almost absolute, even though he gives none back.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, what is it? Okay, now we got 3 peoples here. Well, y'all put y'all names in the comments section so we can say hello to y'all. But well, we had 4, but now we got 3. But anyway, I'm like, what is he? He didn't pay Giuliani's bill. He turned on Roger Stone when his wife had cancer. I'm like, what is it? What is it about him that makes people so loyal to him? I literally am like, okay, I don't get it.
Yeah. Stone, I think, owes him his loyalty because of the pardon. And they did it for each other. Pure true mob style. Um, Same thing with Bannon and all those. But Trump left. He hung everybody out to dry.
He
He hung
did,
them
Mike
all.
Pence.
Mike Pence, I Giuliani, that crazy lawyer lady. Um,
Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson. I'm like,
yeah, he
his
left them
list is long.
all
I'm
of them.
like, why is y'all so? What is it? Does he have something on y'all? That's got to be it. Because I literally am sitting here like, okay,
But that would
what?
mean he'd have something on all of them, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility because he's that kind of guy. But if that's the case, y'all need to get busted because y'all stupid. You know?
Yeah, because I'm like, especially Giuliani. I mean, this guy is still going. I'm like, he's near broke. Trump hasn't paid any of his legal fees towards him. And he's still out here like, yep, not testify. Like, no, testify because he messed you over. Get him because he
only one
got
who
you.
did, only one that flipped was the first lawyer, the fixer. I can't remember his name.
Michael Cohen.
Yeah, and he's going. Him and Mary Trump are going to try to get their pound of flesh. Now, major side eye to Mary Trump, major side eye, because everybody's trying to paint her as, well, look at how the family member is coming out. She did this for a payday, because now she has a podcast where all the top people want to come on her podcast. She's making bank off of this. So, these are all bad people who did bad things, and I don't think Trump's ever going to really get touched because he was the president, and America's going to protect its president. And because they have to protect their president, DOJ won't do too much digging because you'll start to touch people who will turn on the president.
Boy, I wish we lived in other countries. They put their presidents in jail like it's nothing. They're like, okay, you're going to jail. We're like, oh no, we can't have the president. If they did something,
image.
Yeah, I was like, if they did something to be in jail, that's our president. That's where they need to be. There's things that amaze me about this country, like why we vote against our own best interests. I still don't understand that. But why people are loyal to Trump, I'm just like, okay, what is it?
Why we can't revamp? Like you say, the reason why the Constitution is so amazing is because it's a living document, right? Because the original Constitution wasn't good enough. They had to do some fixing. That's why we have amendments. But we ain't had an amendment in how long? So you don't even believe that because you fix some stuff. You go back and fix the 13th and 14th so that we're actually full citizens. You actually go back and fix the whichever is the Bill of Rights where against an illegal search and seizure. I think it's the fourth.
Yeah, the fourth.
Supreme Court already weakened that so that doesn't stand up anymore. So America is just, it's on its way out. It'll never truly go out, I don't think, but it's going to get real bad. And what's happening right now is like the people you were talking about, the racists and the people who are like all about themselves, they're okay right now because it's happening to the people they were taught to hate.
Yeah, but wait till it happens to them.
Right, because what you're wishing on us, the only thing that's different between us and you is our color or our gender orientation or our sexual identity. That's a very thin line between us. So once we've been taken care of, it has to move to a new target. And that's you.
Exactly. Well, audience, I promised everyone the last 5 minutes I would talk about what Tracy Media is going to do. So, first of all, this show we will not go live next week. We're going to go live every other Thursday until, I believe, May. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm now part of a church ministry where my presence is going to be needed. And so I will be dealing with that. And so I will be doing this podcast every other Thursday. So you will not see us next week. You'll see us the week after, and then every Thursday after that. Tracy Takes On is going to probably move to every other week also. And the Progressive Queens will probably stay on its weekly schedule like it is right now. That's the only show that won't change. And that's because I'm adding 2 more. I keep the hustle going. But I'm going to be adding Tracy's Top 5, which I taped the first episode this weekend. It's available to the Patreons. And of course, I'm still waiting to cross that 10 subscriber threshold where I can start Tracy Tries to Cook. So again, we got to cross 10. But remember, everyone, please, please, please like this video, comment, subscribe, support us on Patreon. We'll see you in 2 weeks and have a great evening, everybody.
Good night, everybody.